deep into it, it kind of does a disservice to the black family, right? So let's get into it. And last news story. I just want to touch on this briefly because I found an article here in NBC News where it says more parents seek ADHD diagnosis and drugs for kids to manage remote learning. Now let me read a quick story about this suburban family and why she felt it was necessary to get her daughter checked out, or basically put her daughter on drugs, right? So Susan McLaughlin, a 12-year-old daughter, and her 12-year-old daughter Isabela. Her daughter Isabela was a straight A student before the pandemic. Isabela, who lives in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio, excelled at science and math and was already getting high school credit for algebra. Now, but when her school shut down in March and classes shifted to Zoom, Isabela's grades took a nosedive. She signed on for her virtual class from a desk piled high with books, papers, stuffed animals, then spent hours trying to clean the room instead of focusing on schoolwork. She found herself paralyzed by assignments, McLaughlin said, but she wouldn't tell the teacher over email that she was struggling. So this is something she would have done in person. And her mom basically said, her mom, who is 53, who takes Ritalin, by the way, just so you know, her mom suffers from anxiety. So she takes these kind of drugs too, which we see a lot. These are white folks, but we see this a lot in our community too. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, right? So her mother, who's 53, said basically, she wants to do something to help her daughter out. So she's considering getting her tested for ADHD. And she said so she can get Ritalin, Adderall, or Viacy, I think it is. So here's the thing, family. And this is to all my black parents out there. I think what the pandemic is doing to everybody is it's giving you a glimpse of what type of home relationship you have with your kid, right? Because sometimes we get in the habit of sending our kids to school. And let's keep it real. For some of us, school is like a babysitter. School is like, okay, get out of my hair. You come back when you come back. When you come back, I'll have minimal interaction with you. We get you dressed, do the same shit tomorrow, right? But in actuality, this can be used as a good time to do a few things, right? This can get you in touch with what kind of structure, what kind of discipline you have in your house, right? Because I don't believe in the whole ADHD thing. Well, let me take that back. Can someone have attention deficit disorder? Yes. When you can't sit down, where you can't move, where it's hard for you to sit in one spot, yeah, right? But little bitty children, as parents, there are ways to thwart that. Like, there are ways to prevent that from happening. Yes, you'll have a child that needs to run around and but this is just knowing your kid. Put them in environments where they can run around, but they also need to know when to sit the fuck down. You know what I mean? And that's something you teach. And I think some parents never found it useful to teach these kind of things. Now you got a kid at home all fucking day and you're not sure what to do with them, right? But if they were small, when they were smaller, if you would have took the time to make them understand the importance of sitting down, the importance of discipline, and really for this young white girl, they're mentioning it like her room is fucking dirty. So because her room is dirty, it's taking her 4 hours to clean her room so she can't study. I'll be honest, that's kind of bullshit. That, to me, that's a lack of structure. If you're in a home with a child and they don't have a bedtime, they don't have a time to do schoolwork, they don't have a time to do chores, right? You're creating the fucking ADHD, right? You're creating exactly what you're trying to get rid of, right? So now they are making a good point, like I talked to my 13-year-old about. You have to check your kid's headspace during this time. Because this pandemic, whether we agree with it or not, whether we think it's true or false or whatever the case, this is an unprecedented time in our country. We've never seen a time like this where the world has actually stopped. Now, adults are going crazy right now. We have a lot of adults that are struggling with how to deal with this shit, right? How do you think it feels for 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old who can't be around their friends, who can't be in their social circles, right? So we have to be cognizant of that. Excuse me. And a main way to do that, I think, as parents, is just to be engaging. Like, ask your kids questions, get an idea of what they're doing. If they look sad, right? This is something I never did before, but if my son temperament looks weird, I question him about it. Hey, what's going on? Why you feel that way? You feel okay today? Like, ask them how they feel. How you feel today? You feel like going to school? Everything is okay with your head? You know what I mean? Because again, we don't know how this is negatively affecting our babies, but black parents, don't you put your kid on no goddamn Ritalin. Don't you put your kid on none of this shit, because ultimately these are the same drugs they give us as adults. Like some of these drugs is the same shit they lace with heroin and other drugs that make adults addicted to it, right? So in reality, you're actually addicting your kids to drugs before they can even understand what's going on. You see what I'm saying? So you think you give your kid Ritalin for 7 years in a row, he gonna stop? You think he gonna stop at Ritalin? Nah. Then somebody gonna pass him the weed. Then somebody gonna pass him a Vicodin. Then somebody gonna pass him a Percocet. Then he may just keep on fucking going. You see what I'm saying? So nah, we ain't giving our kids drugs. Don't do none of that. Whoop their ass. Not like a beating, right? But shit, your kid don't want to sit down. What you gonna do? Because this ain't funny, but this white mom is talking about her daughter's room is dirty, so it's making it hard for her to do schoolwork because the room is dirty. So she spent 3 hours cleaning the room. Well, how about she clean the room the night before? See, maybe she's not made to clean the room. I really do think a lot of parents who never focus on discipline, who haven't seen fit to create structure, you catching hell now because your kid is at home all day. You don't know what to do with them. You don't know what to make them do. You know what I mean? So use this as an opportunity. If you are a parent who hasn't created structure in your kid's life, understand that it's necessary. Use this as an opportunity to create a structured environment where some of this shit won't really affect you. But getting Ritalin and getting all these drugs, black family, not us. Right? They already try to recommend these drugs to our kids just for being a little rambunctious. And some of our kids are just, they are high energy individuals and they can be bored. They can be in a class where it's not challenging them enough and they bored. So they're getting up and moving or getting up and being a class clown. None of that means they need drugs, family. None of that means they need Ritalin or any of this shit. Our community is already plagued with drug abuse, plagued with neglect. We have all these other isms, so to speak, that we have to deal with. Don't put your kid on no goddamn drugs at all. You know what I mean? So, was that the last news story? Yes, that was the last news story, family. So let's get into it, right?